Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is King Ruthless and I'm bringing you another StarCraft 2 commentary. This is a Zerg vs Protoss on the map Shattered Temple, and I'm bringing you yet another Zerg vs Protoss because this is going to be kind of the finale, the afterthought to the ZvP decaf style as shown to us by decaf off of the Team Liquid.net forums. So let me go ahead and introduce the two players in this game. Spawning in the left hand location is Kangas Khan, also known as King Ruthless, your lovable StarCraft 2 caster, Zerg caster. And my opponent for this game will be Divwixie. He is a high diamond Protoss. I beat his friend the previous game who was a master random, or master something, but he was basically off racing and I beat him when he tried to play Protoss. But I was talking to these guys in Mario's Obs chat room, and basically I wanted to practice this style and just really make it work, kind of customize it to the way that I play Zerg versus Protoss. Following the basic build and do my own flair. I noticed that decaf does have his two overlords always in position around the bases to scout in whenever they need to. I tend to like floating overlords, keep them coming basically, where they're always in a position to go scout. And we'll see that a little bit this game, but I don't really want to spend too much time on these games because these are a little bit long. So I'm actually going to do 2 games in this cast, and this is going to show you kind of where I started with this build, and we're going to analyze kind of where, you know, lower level players really need to focus more on, and just easy things that you can forget. So, as we see here, it's a 12 pull. We're going to go to the exact same build, Queen, then the 2 Lings. Now, at this point in time, I should be sending my drone down. Okay, so that's not a bad timing on that. I can go and scout with the sky if I need to. There's no pylon blocking the way, so I'm going to go ahead and throw down my my hatchery. We're going to follow these Zerglings for a second, because I think this is a very important, very crucial moment that a lot of us might mistake on. Okay, so I'm sending all my Zerglings to front, applying a little pressure. I see it's a gateway expand. What does decaf do every time it's a gateway expand? He immediately gets gas. And as we see here, there's no gas whatsoever for me. I also use that queen to throw down a creep tumor instead of injecting that larva. Now also, keep in mind that these Zerglings they did absolutely no damage. There's actually no damage done to the Zealot. So, once I saw there was a gateway expand, maybe try to peel off 2 Zerglings, run back, and look for proxy pylons. Now, these Overlords would do fine to spot that, but unfortunately my minimap awareness is not the best. See, I can technically see this guy, like, right here, right? So I should be responding to that. So if you do lose those 4 Lings, you know, because you have map control with that 12 pull, you can feel free to move around your Overlords even after the first 2 are out, and that's what I prefer to do. So I'm moving these guys all over the place, you know, basically scouting for proxies, all sorts of shenanigans. I've come in here, I scouted that it's double gas, and I see a lot of sentries, so I know it's an expand build. So here's the issue, is I don't know why I'm throwing down so many spine crawlers when I could be throwing down an expansion and really just start ramping out the aggression after about the 40-50 drone mark. But anyways, we had the queens on pretty good energy. We've only missed maybe 1 or 2 injects. 1 inject was missed because of that creep tumor. But now I have a nice little creep spread, a little creep highway going on out here. So that's kind of one thing I like to do now. These Overlords are kind of being useless. They don't need to be sitting up here. Maybe rally a little bit closer inward, so that way if you need to move your army, you can move it outward. I have a problem with this because I just don't have the APM required to get the Overlords in a position that I would like. But anyways, these Lings, 4 Lings die unnecessarily. I see this push is coming. It's a +1 timing push, basically meant to deny a 3rd base. But I mean, basically if I had been a little bit better on my gas timings, they're a bit late, I would have been able to make more roaches. My +1 missile attacks is late. My layer is late. It's just really late all around, so now I'm having to defend this push instead of, you know, being able to push it back and punish the Protoss for pushing out like this. So this is kind of where it goes wrong right here. I'm going to pause right here. So what we have here is a 2-base Zerg versus a 2-base Protoss who can just macro away. If I'm going to stay on 2 bases, I need to make a macro hatch. You see my minerals are so high because my gas was so late. Because I don't know what I'm doing with this build. I'm making a lot of roaches. Should be making maybe Lings instead of roaches. But those are very larva intensive and I'm not hitting my injects. So if you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable grabbing your 3rd, first off, you might be better off just throwing down a macro hatch. Now I'm not going to spend too much time with the rest of this game Because pretty much as you see, my Protoss opponent has map control. I do not. He's grabbing his third. I don't even have my third up. There it goes. My third's behind his. I still haven't taken out this pylon right here. Now, do note that I have taken out, you know, most of his sentries, so I have a fair idea about what I'm doing here, but I don't know, just not the best decision making on my part. But I just wanted to show you guys the little pitfalls, and there's one more thing I want to show you guys before we wrap up this game, because I don't mean to spoil it for anyone, but I don't want this game. So, we have lots of lings, lots of roaches coming out here, just picking away at the forces, trying to get rid of those sentries. I do get rid of all the sentries. That's all I need to do from there on out. So now I just need to drone up and expand like crazy. I could expand here. I could throw down 2 macro hatcheries. I could take down these rocks, and I can just expand wherever I want because Protoss is trying to grab 4 bases. So if you try to grab 4 bases like that, you can either deny it or you can expand everywhere if you want to play passive. So I'm trying to expand everywhere, but it would help if I expanded here as well. Maybe took down these rocks and expanded up here. But I'm not going to. Meanwhile, my Mutalisk, this is a problem with lower level players. I guess I make this mistake, so I would assume that lower level players would do this as well. When you go to harass with your mutas and you see a lot of cannons in one area, just leave it alone. You don't have to go and attack that area with all your mutas. You can pull back, and kind of swing around, and you can start hitting other bases which are not protected by cannons. So this Overlord sees everything, by the way. This is what I talk about being bold with my Overlords. They're just everywhere. But, you know, 4 years is telling me I need to expand, and I'm not expanding. This is why I don't have many units. This is why this push, when it comes, is going to kill me so dearly. So not staying on top of my larva injects. This queen is on way too much energy. I'm only on 3 bases. He's on 4. Now, there is going to be a decent fight here in the middle, but it would help if I brought all my units into it. So bad unit control there from me. But I'm going to be able to get up these 2 bases. I'm just going to fast forward to the end here, so we can literally watch the minimap and see that everything has died. Units, it's only, okay, 0 Mutalisks. I list all my Mutalisks. So now this entire plan that I had about just making a Roachling Muta army, you want to get up that Muta ball as big as possible, and I've lost all my Mutalisks. So, yeah, I can make 16 because I'm so bad at macroing. But wouldn't it be cool if I had 10 other Mutalisks, so that would, you know, total 26 Mutalisks, and then I could go and rain terror, like, everywhere? That would be really cool, right? But unfortunately, Mutalisks are not going to be able to do much. Some nice harass in here. These Mutalisks will be chased away, but I am keeping him pinned in his base, and now I'm just going to sit back in my base. Oh, also, I forgot about this. He made Dark Templar and killed everything. I didn't have my spines and spores up in time, and I didn't scout, which is why I didn't know they were coming. So, you expect them to come, but if you don't do anything about it, they're not going to come, and it's just going to be bad. So I should be taking more bases here. I should be trying to get my way back into this game. But as we see here, there was a big fight. I didn't have that many units, and I just got taken out. Now, I know you guys might have wanted to see a little bit more about that game, but I wanted to show you guys in these videos kind of the pitfalls that you might come across in this build. So, number 1 pitfall, you have to hit your injects. This can't happen. This literally cannot happen. I cannot have queens with this much energy. Also, I need to get these gases a lot faster when I see a build that is centered around a warp gate before expansion. Forge before expansion, you can delay that gas. I need to take bases faster. I need to be more assertive with taking my bases. And, you know, the crew spread wasn't a terrible idea or anything. It's just, I don't know, some bad decision making trying to attack with my Mutalisks into cannons is always a bad idea. These are the mistakes you might make when you first start to try this build. So I wanted to show you guys that. And I'm going to go ahead here. I'm going to close this out. And I'm going to pull up the next replay, which I think is pretty important here. So let's see. Let me come down here. There we go. So this is a game I played on ladder. And I did the same style. And I'm doing this against all Protosses. I'm just trying to make it work for me. And you notice I'm a fan of creep tumors, whereas decaf is not. But let me go ahead and introduce the 2 players here. This is going to be on Shakura's Plateau, by the way. My opponent will be S. Pringle. I will be Kangaskhan Khan, as usual. We'll kind of speed things along a little bit. And I know I made this point a lot of times back, you know, during the cast when I was casting about what decaf was doing and how 12 pool could deny a lot of cheeses that, you know, Protosses could bring early on. This is a case in point where you can literally do this. Okay, so the drone scouts that I'm going for early pool. And this is, you know, off of high platinum ladder. I mean, it's not the best play whatsoever. But, I mean, there's just very basic things you can do to prevent cheese. Number 1, you need to be scouting. You need to have your overlords in pretty good positions. But, I have my overlords going out across the map wherever I want to place them. Okay, so you see here, he's going to try to do a pylon block into cannon cheese. I have my drone here blocking the way. Not the best micro, so he actually wins the micro battle. But I was really just trying to delay that. And now here come the 4 Zerglings. I need to be making more Zerglings at this point. Instead, I'm just focused so much on microing this attack. So at this point in time, that cannon's about to finish. I need to bring all my drones, which I do. It's just a little bit late. Doing the drone drill attack, and this does work wonders against Protoss. He's going to try and, you know, do whatever he can to force me to make more, you know, units or minerals or whatever. But, you know, I fended it off. So you can't kill the 12 pull build with this, you know, with cannon cheese or anything. So one thing I didn't do in the last game that I'm now doing in this game, these Zerglings are running around just trying to find whatever they can. These Zerglings running up front, since I had to make a few more. But I'm actually going to miss that probe entirely. Zerglings are going to be able to run into the base and just be annoying. And so that's kind of one cool thing I can do. So you can see here his macro's getting a little bit off because he's just having to multitask and worry about my Zerglings in his base. And also this is Platinum where we don't know how to micro or macro. So this probe right here is going to try and do a cannon cheese again. Probably would have been better off throwing a pylon there and a pylon there and then throwing down 2 cannons. That might have worked out better for him. But since this is Platinum, yeah, even in Platinum we can't pull off our cheeses correctly. So everything's going to die here. And I've just fended off that cheese. Now my Overlords are in pretty good position. I have an Overlord behind here. I should be sending an Overlord over here as well to watch for a Warp Prism play. And I should be moving this Overlord a little bit closer as well, just to check on the gas timings for Protoss. As we see here, I'm transferring drones. Look at the income tab, 36 to 33, so I'm pretty ahead. And since I noticed he's taking his second, I'm going to go ahead and take my third. I know he can't really throw anything at me right now. He might throw a Void Rays or something, but I already have my Evolution Chamber down, so if I need to defend any one base, I can always throw down Spores. Now, I'm throwing down this Creep Tumor because when you grab a fast third like this, you need a Creep Highway to defend it with Queens and Spores. So that was my plan. But what he's actually going for here is like a 5 gate. I guess a 5 gate with Blink or something. So I'm pretty safe for the time being. I just need to watch out about the 10 or so minute mark. It's because he did that cannon cheese, this is going to be so delayed, and also because he's not macroing to the best of his ability. He has a lot of gas stockpiled up, and he's actually going to spend that on sentries. And you'll see here in a second he's actually going to go for Templar. So I scout that there's a little bit of an army pushing out here. I overreact a little bit. I just make too many units here. But what's the cool thing that you can do when you make too many units? It's kind of like the idea that you have in Zerg versus Zerg. You make too many units, well then go and attack. Don't just sit in your base and try to defend. You made those units, put them to use immediately. So Zerglings are going to come here, scout that he wants to try and take a third base. They're not going to do the best job at, you know, doing anything about these cannons. And now he has to pull into position and fend off these attacks. But my roaches are really slow. I don't have that Glial Reconstitution started. So that's another kind of flaw in my play right here. I'm not getting those Glial Reconstitution fast enough. Think if that had finished by now, I could have killed off this army. Could have killed off all these sentries. So that's just another thing you need to pay attention to, your gas timings and also your upgrade timings. Don't forget about your upgrade timings. My gases are way late, and as you can see here, my minerals are really high. So if you're a little bit tentative, if your minerals tend to get a bit too high, throw down gas sooner than later. But if we're going to go back to the decaf style of Roachling Muta, I mean, if your opponent takes third base, you take a 4th and a 5th and a 6th and a 7th and an 8th. You just expand everywhere and keep the non-stop harass up. So due to my awesome macro, I was only able to make 1 Muta. But I do have 36 Zerglings on the way. I just want to do some damage here. I want to basically punish Protoss for taking 3 bases. So I'm making a lot of Zerglings here. I'm sending out my Mutas to go and harass, getting those upgrades. Now, look how late that Glial Reconstitution is. Now, what else could I be doing here besides hitting my injects on time? Because I know he's taken 3 bases and he's going to be really defensive, I should be taking a 4th and droning up. Let's look at my income tab though. I'm at 87 harvesters, so I've actually done great on drone production here. I need to be transferring drones. So once you hit a certain number of drones, you really just need to start worrying more about transferring. Maybe making some spine crawlers to delay that inevitable push. Now Lings are going to come in here. I'm just basically going to try and deny the third, which I will do. Doesn't matter how hard you try. I mean, Lings are just pretty damn sexy. But anyways, I mean, I have a pretty big army here. I have just non-stop roach production. I'm still not hitting my injects, but my creep spread's pretty good, so I can see this push coming from a mile away. So we see here, my mutas are just coming in and being annoying, making this army run around everywhere. It's just really irritable. And the reason why he's able to double expand is because his macro is bad, and so is mine. So I should really be taking this base, breaking down the rocks, taking this base, taking that base, getting the gas geysers, and just spamming out lots and lots of units. My minerals are really high, and as Protosses, you don't want to sit back and try to macro up off of something like this. I mean, look how many Mutalisks I have. I'm going to be able to do whatever I want. So I'm just running in the base, doing lots of harassment. Bad storm there. I'm not sure what that was about. And another thing I could have done here is just take out some pylons. Supply block him momentarily. He wouldn't be able to make much more. But as we see here, I'm going to go ahead and counterattack. I have so many larvae saved up, I can just go ahead and start killing things off. So roaches are in here picking off a couple of probes. I do have decent creep spread. I need to keep that up. I do need to grab another base, like badly. I'm now at 7k minerals. So again, I want to point out another thing that Decaf did with this build. Whenever he would take another expansion after, after 2, when he takes his 3rd, he'll make another hatchery. When he takes his 4th, he'll make another hatchery. And you can do this with like your 5th or 6th, maybe. But I'll have to try that out and see how that works. Anyways, roaches are awesome against this army. This army's not the best. A little bit of lag there, so the roaches aren't being as cost effective as I would like for them to be. Now these Zerglings can come in and just be annoying. So they are going to start killing off all these cannons. So now I have pretty much free access into his base. And this is pretty scary for Protoss. Look how small that army is. I've just been all over the place, denying expansions, just moving around, just being really irritating. But now that this is going to be kind of a slugfest, I'm making a lot of roaches. So I see this army out here in the front. I'm going to go ahead and pick it off while I still can. And look at that supply drop. It's only at like 97 to 200. I mean, he's going to be able to warp in like an insane amount of units because he has all these warp gates because his macro is really bad. But at the same time, I'm just killing off everything. So no more upgrades for him. He was going for triple upgrades there that might have been better spent in units. But at this point in time, what you can do, since your army is killing off everything, you can actually send a contingent to come over here and deny these expansions as well if you know your opponent has them. You could also be getting more gas and expanding more, as always. So that's kind of what happens this game. It's going to drag out a little bit longer, but we're going to speed it to ×8, killing off lots and lots of tech. But I mean, it doesn't matter. He has Colossus and, lots of Stalkers and pretty damn good upgrades, actually. Alright. This is pretty awesome, by the way. It's only because I have bad macro. But I just made 33 Mutalisks. Which is pretty freaking crazy. So yeah, 33 Mutalisks. Pretty much awesome against everything except Storm, which I run right into. So yeah, not the best control for my Mutas. Trying to split them up a little bit, make them burn Storms. But again, not doing the best job here. But I'm able to pick up the rest, clean up the rest of this army because I took out his Cybernetics core. He can only make, Colossi and Zealots now. So this army is going to go down pretty fast. And this game should have really been over. I mean, look at the time here. The game should have been over long ago. So anyways, just running in here, killing everything off. Splitting my forces now. I should have done this a little bit, back. And yeah, that's pretty much the game. So guys, another one of the pitfalls that you might have in this game is not hitting your upgrade timings. Just pay close attention to that and always be looking forward to upgrades. So just another variation you can do with this build is go for faster tech. You can make lots and lots of mutas, but always put aside a little bit of room to maybe tech to Broodlords or maybe tech to Ultralists, whatever you want to do. I don't suggest Ultralists because they're not very good against... They're okay against Protoss, but Blink Stalkers are just horribly scary against Ultralists, which is why Broodlords are just better in general. But anyways, guys, that is the end of the series. That was kind of an afterthought. That was something that we can kind of reflect on, and when we're learning this build, we need to pay attention to. Yes, again, your gas timings and your upgrade timings are so important here. And then again, if you see your Protoss opponent is taking a 3rd, you can just expand like crazy. So anyways, I had a ridiculous amount of drones this game. I'm pretty proud of that. But that'll do it for this series, guys. So it's been a pleasure casting, and I hope you guys have enjoyed the entire series. And as always, I've been your host, Kangaroothless. Be sure to rate, subscribe, comment, favorite, and all that fun stuff. And I'll see you guys around. Peace.